Hey guys, this is Herb Mansavage for Alaska Weather and Climate 101. This would be weather observations from Wasilla, Alaska, the Palmer Hayflats on the bluff off of Fairview Loop. This week the observations are going to be from March 26th to the 30th. From those days, the 26th, I'll just kind of overview it. It was 26, started with a little bit of snow, ending from a pretty heavy snowfall off of Sunday and Monday, falling into a pretty actually nice couple days on Wednesday and Thursday. But then again, coming down to kind of some nasty weather on Friday and Saturday, with Saturday being a pretty nasty day of mostly rain, at least here in the valley. I'll start off with my first day of weather observation. Tuesday was mostly cloud cover of nimbostratus. It was snowing lightly in the morning, although my observation, which was taking place about 3 o'clock, which is the case for all of my observations, which was done around 3 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There was some still very light snowing, but it was fading off and ending around 5 o'clock. There was no wind. It was starting to warm up. The min and max temperatures for that day were 14.2 degrees and 9 degrees. But that's going off of the max temperatures from the day prior. Going on from that day, like I said, it started to warm up, and we go into on Wednesday, in which it was a very nice day. It was clear, a little cool, with a max temperature of 19.6 degrees and a minimum temperature of negative 2.7 degrees. Again, it warmed up. There was no wind. There was some wind later on in the day from the northeast, but that was light, under at least 3 to 2 miles an hour, so very little. Thursday was again another semi-clear day with some nimbostratus clouds, but very light. There was a wind, about 6 mile an hour wind coming from the east, but that was also fading off later in the day. Max and min temperatures for Thursday were 34.3 degrees, and the minimum temperature was 12.6 degrees. Again, that was just another nice day, no precipitation. The pressure was 1,010. I'll get to that with my pressure graphs, but the Wasilla Airport was reading a much higher pressure, higher pressure. For Friday, it was another little partly cloudy day with mostly nimbostratus clouds. Some altostratus clouds, but it looked like it was going to precipitate, although it did not. The max and min temperatures were 37.8 and 24, and the min temperature was 24.9. The precipitation for that day, again, was none, although there was a slight wind from the northeast at about 3 to 5 miles per hour. Beaufort scale 2 to 3. Pressure 1013. And again, that day it ended up getting much more cloudier. And following for Saturday the 30th, we had a day of much of precipitation, especially during my observation around 3 to 4 p.m. Precipitation was actually fairly heavy. With heavy nimbostratus clouds for most of the day, although the precipitation did lighten up and give away around 6-7 o'clock that night. The min and max temperatures for that day were 39.4 degrees for a high and a 24.1 as a low. So as you can see, it was pretty warm. Temperature that I took at the time was, I believe, almost 40 degrees during that, 39 degrees at the time, so that was a pretty warm day. So that concludes my weather observation from this. I'm going to move on to the weather graphs and show you what happened for that. Here is the air temperature graph. I'm just going to shortly run through these. As you can see, Fairly good representation of what I had to what they had as far as recording on my instruments. Um, Although it is, like as I've stated before on my other screencasts, that there wasn't, the dips and whatnot are the min and maxes that are recorded over a 24-hour basis, so you don't see those as much with the recordings that when you take the measurements. I'm sure you guys have probably noticed that as well. Um, Here we go to move on to the pressure. I'll just run through this real quick. This is what I was stating earlier. I believe it shows a fairly good representation of what it actually was recorded, although the values are a little off, but did show the same type of curve and trend as the pressure observed by the National Weather Service. Pressure is one thing I've had a hard time getting very close to accurate with the National Weather Service, so that's something I hope we can kind of try to get more in line. I'm gonna go run over the weather or the weather maps, and then here's the weather map for Monday, March 25th. I'm actually gonna go ahead and show you guys to start from Tuesday. Here we go. As you can see, I've really been trying to figure out these weather maps as far as the contour lines and understanding how the pressure is actually moving through the system. But as you can see in the south central area, there was a low pressure system that ran through at 1,008 millibars. That would reflect pretty correct to what was happening as the low pressure system of snow and precipitation had just rolled through and was on its way out, and it looks as if it's heading towards the north, along with that cold weather system coming down from the south. That's what created some of the warm weather in the next few days. We'll move to Wednesday, which you can see, yep, there was no weather system present really in the entire south central. There was some high pressure towards the interior, but nowhere near where we were at. Thursday, again, it's showing big weather system over the Aleutians, but nothing too critical over the south central, with some pressure system coming off of looks like a storm over in the Aleutian chains, and that seems to be somewhat affecting what we had on Thursday. Thursday again was a nice day, except it was starting to begin to get cloudy at the end of the day, in which Friday and Saturday were starting to become precipitation. Friday, yep, you can see the snow system starting to move in with a low pressure front on the from the south coming north. This would be very accurate to what was seen on that day, with the cloud cover starting to move in. And then moving to Saturday, you can see the low front that did move in, and the cloud covering much of the south central region with the pressure of 1,019 millibars. Here's the geo images. I'll just run through these real quick. So for today's images, it does reflect very well with the system over the south central area, at least. As you can see with the water vapor map, there's a kind of a Y shape that's created right there, centering around south central, and it seems to be accurate with also the infrared, the visible, and what was seen over throughout the day. Although it would have been nice to see the water vapor, visible, and infrared maps on Saturday, where I could have more accurately saw the system, because it was a pretty nasty day on Saturday, and you could see the system coming in from Thursday and Friday. This concludes my screencast. Thanks, guys.